The first thing I would say is if you have a gut feeling that, especially someone you know, a friend, a colleague, somebody you're around, family member, that they're not acting well, not seeming well, one of the biggest myths is if you ask someone, hey, are you going to commit suicide? Are you going to harm yourself? That reinforces that they will, but it's been debunked so many times that that's not the case. A lot of times people are reaching out and they actually want people to ask that question. They want people to be intrigued and it shows interest, right? And so I would say if you have a good feeling that something isn't right, ask. It cannot hurt. So you know your family member, you know your friend or your colleague. How are they? How are they the last 2 weeks that's different from the last 6 months? Where they lose interest in things that they normally do. Maybe you guys play pickleball. We got a new pickleball place here, right? And so maybe that's something you guys do, and then now John doesn't want to do it anymore. Maybe you guys spent time together, went hiking at the concert. You don't want to do it anymore. One of the big signs, we'll maybe get into this later, is giving away possessions. Just not caring about the things that you used to care about, and you slowly start to see that depression, that depressive state slip into more of a depression. Um, I would say also probably just not putting themselves first. So you even see things like self-care kind of go away. Doesn't always mean that that's the next step of suicide, but you see those things. Just the self-care upkeep isn't the same. So try to make yourself not just available to them, um, but just I don't want to say be your natural self. I don't want the thing I don't want to stress people is try. I want to stress people don't try to be a clinician or don't think because when you do that, anxiety is built up. There's expectations that possibly won't be fulfilled. Just be yourself. A lot of times, what I found in my experience is being someone that's able to listen to them and be a sounding board is so important, and people want to be heard. And so, not all the time, but sometimes you'll see people that self harm, and they'll do it strategically in places where people can see them. So, when I was a school resource officer at the high school, I remember a young lady, she would do it because there's plenty of places to hide anybody, right, where you don't want people to see. And she would strategically do it in places where people could see it. And eventually I saw it and I asked her, I was like, man, I was like, what's going on? And that's exactly what she said. She wanted people to notice her. And she was like, you're the first person to notice it. So I've been walking around with a short sleeve with cuts on my arm all day long or all week, and no one said anything. And so, again, I think people want to be heard and people want you. So be your natural self, be available, and be a listener. And so non-judgmental is a big one. Non-judgment would be empathy and putting yourself in their shoes. So yeah, ask questions as far as safety, but maybe don't ask judging questions and just be there to listen to them. So, I know that I have to gain your trust, and for you to tell me things, you have to trust me. And so again, it sounds similar, but making yourself available or I would say creating or modeling the idea that it's okay for you to get help. So typically they're looking at you and they may not ask all the time, but they're watching you. So how do you deal with mental health? Or how do you deal when, so if you're stressful, does dad just avoid everybody and go outside and cut the grass? While good in a sense, it can be used as a coping skill, but are we just avoiding the conversation at all with the family? The bills are hot right now. The, you know, something's going wrong with the car. Like you can tell dad's stressed. How does he deal with those things? Because typically the kids are looking at him and then you're modeling it for them. Or instead of avoiding, are we coming together and talking about it as a family? Like, hey, we're experiencing a rough time right now. We'll get through it. Because I think that gives them reassurance and they're looking at you. So I would say one of the biggest things because you can do to control, because that's one thing that's in your control. Some parents don't have $40,000 to send their kids to a rehab place in Jacksonville, Florida, but they do have. They're able to model in the home kind of the things that how they deal with and how they cope with anxiety or depression or anything that's stressful. And I think when you model that, it gives them trust, and then they're able to come out and say, hey, mom, I saw you deal with that pretty well. I'm dealing with some stuff at school. These girls are Instagram are bullying me. And now it feels better than either perfectionist mom, who just seems like she's always got it together. So how dare I go and say something to her? Or the ones who avoid and deal with it really bad, alcohol or not talking. So those children are less likely to come forward in